Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. It depends where you're listening in from, I guess. Um, so today I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown on the 2020 Commencal Meta Power 29 Essential model. So basically, I'll just be showing you what you get and giving you some general vibes about it, what I've thought. So this isn't my bike, but I have ridden it a fair bit. It's a family member's. So we'll start with the alloy frame. It's a full alloy front and rear frame. We've got 160 mils of travel in the rear with a DPX2 Fox Performance shock with the 3-point adjust, which is pretty nice. In the front, we've got 170 mils of travel, Fox 36 Performance. These are also quite snazzy. Moving on, we have a full SLX drivetrain, 12 speed. This is, well, bar the e-bike components, it's all SLX. We come up here, we also have SLX 4-piston brakes, which I'm surprised how good they actually are, really. I had my doubts upon purchasing my bike with SLX brakes, but after riding these SLX brakes with the 4 pistons, it's amazing how good they are, how good they've become. Going into a bit more e-bike specific stuff on the Meta Power. Basically, this bike runs full Shimano spec, so the E8000 range. So we've got the E8000 cranks, 165 mils. Not too much to say about those. It looks like we've got a bit of shoe rub here, but that's not to say everyone's going to get it. I think that's more about the user rather than the product. We've got the motor. We've got the E8000 motor. So this is 250 watts nominal with a nice little guard down here. This guard is different. It doesn't extend the full way up. So up here where we've got our battery, this is the E8035 battery. It's a 504 watt per hour battery, which is reasonable. It's reasonable. It's very good. If you go back 1 or 2 years, it's amazing. It's amazing how good the technology actually is, how quick it's evolving. And then we've got the E8000 display unit, which are hard to focus on in this light, but yeah, it's there. We've also got the power button down here, which I'll get to later because I want to talk about that, and I'll show you that when I turn it on. So that's the e-bike components, I guess, the actual e-bike part. The wheel set, we've got some nice E13 downhill beasts, the 29 inch. So yeah, alloy as well. No, they're holding up firm. The user of this bike has had it for what, two months of heavy use. With the bike, you also get your Maxxis combo, so you got your Assegai on the front, Aggressor on the back, both are 2.5 stock. Something interesting with this bike, which you don't see very often, well I haven't, is that it actually comes with a pair of flat pedals upon purchase, which, it's good. I think more bikes should come with flat pedal options for people who it might be their first bike. Like if you're changing bikes, you don't need to worry because you've got your pedals which you swap because you don't sell it. But if you're a new rider, then it's great to not have to go out and buy pedals. Obviously, the riders change these. A bit of experimentation was done with flats, but again, that's personal preference. So the weight of this bike, the weight comes in at about 24 kilos or just under rather. I think it's 23.8, 20, just under 24, which is a lot. It sounds like a lot. But in terms of e-bikes, well, it's great, really. Like, you don't notice it that much. You only really notice it, well, because you've got the motor and everything going. Climb doesn't really matter. You only really notice it in the air, but I think the personal preference, again, I think the extra weight is actually helpful in the air. You don't have all the squirming about. Yeah, it's good. It feels stable. And you can, again, I mentioned this in a previous video, but I really like being able to push the bike into the corners. It feels a lot more grippy with the extra weight. I didn't consider that pre-e-bike purchase, but it's great. So the changes, this bike isn't stock. Everything I've mentioned so far is stock, but there's been a few changes. Obviously, the backcountry strap doesn't come with it, nor does the bottle cage and this little one-up pump with the multi-tool inside. They're great, but don't come with it. What else is different? Oh, the fabric seat. I think it comes with a WTB seat, one of those race. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the WTB. It doesn't conform to my underside very nicely. We've got the KS dropper. That's pretty standard, really. It's great. Love the KS dropper. Now, the bars and stem have also been changed. So originally, I'm led to believe it came with Ride Alpha. It's pretty similar in terms of stem and bar width and length, but the Rider had these. They're used to them, so they just swapped them out for the 35mm Rentals. And the one-up riser bar, I believe they're 800mm wide, which is the same as stock in terms of width. We've also got these rev grips. Now these are interesting. I've never really seen these, but basically, I'm not sure if you can see, they're designed to have a little bit of movement, sort of like cushioning, bit of suspension. People love them or hate them, but I haven't really used them that much because when I've ridden this, I've had different grips on. But I mean, that shouldn't come into your decision in purchasing a bike like this. Now, the power button cover. I'll just flip this around to make it easier. So, yeah. Right, we've flipped it around. That was a bit of an effort, lifting that 24 kilo beast. So yeah, another thing, just quickly, before we move on to the power button cover. Down here is where we charge it. The little flap. It's I think you've got to be careful when you put that in because it's just like this. It's not a very strong plastic, so that's something to consider. So the power button cover. So this is an interesting one. So what you're seeing here is basically a little carbon fiber cover for the power button. The Rider made this themselves. They've just velcroed it on. Doesn't look very pretty. But basically what was happening is, which they didn't take into consideration until purchasing the bike and actually riding it, is this power button is right in line with where your knee pad strikes. Well, not strikes, but if your knee pad is to strike here, or rub, it's going to touch this button, and it's real sensitive. Quite sensitive. So what they found was happening was down harsh and rocky descents was they were accidentally turning the button off, and then they get to the bottom and have nothing, or mid-ride. So what they did was get this cover just to stop that that potential for turning off their battery. Yeah, so that's, for me, that's the biggest negative with this bike. So we've turned it on. As you can see, we've got our little heads-up display. 5 out of 5 bars. Tells you your speed. These in Australia are regulated to 23 kilometers per hour. But yeah, this is pretty much the bike. See, that was it's off, just instant. Overall, it's this is the first e-bike I ever rode, and well, it got me hooked, basically. So, well, that in itself speaks for how good the bike is. So yeah, just a nice little review for y'all. I'll see you next time.